Last Sunday, 1 week ago, Meghan and Harry had a 2-hour interview with Oprah and spilled everything out. Okay, because you know that they left the UK. They wanted to distance themselves from being royals and in that position, and they're living near Santa Barbara now. Okay. So Megan did 1 hour of the interview and then Harry joined for the second hour. I didn't see the interview because it was on TV and we don't have a TV. But I read all the updates that they did, during it. And so you have to know that I'm speaking with authority of what I'm talking. Otherwise, you might think that I just made it all up. Okay, so um, just some of the highlights. Uh, it was very difficult for her. She didn't feel accepted by the family. She felt that there was racism. Um, one of the relatives or somebody asked about, what color do you think, before Archie was born, what color do you think his skin is going to be? And when Megan said that, Oprah went, "What?" I mean, Oprah was just like shocked. It was pretty shocking, but not if you think of it, the monarchy of what used to be a huge colonial power that controlled the land and resources of many people of color. Yeah. So talked about that. Megan was saying that she was very distressed during her pregnancy with Archie, because of not the press was giving her a hard time. She felt like the press was much kinder to Kate, but really picked on her and scrutinized her. And she said she felt suicidal. And she went and asked for help, and they told her no. I mean, she even asked the Human Resource Department in Buckingham Palace. That's for all the people who work there, and they said no. Um, so, it just kind of gave this. You could see the difficulties that they had in that position. The family was not going to give Archie the title of prince, and for them, for his parents, Archie's parents, it wasn't so important the title, but if he didn't have the title, then he wouldn't get security. And if he didn't have security, then everybody would be trouncing on him and everything. And Harry made a comment that he felt in some ways the way the press was treating Meghan, it was history happening again. And we all know how awful it was, how Diana died, and how distressing. Harry was only 12 years old, to lose his mother and then have to keep a stiff upper lip, during the funeral and during all of that. Okay, so this caused an uproar. Yeah, it was well publicized before it happened, the interview. So everybody was really prime-timed on it. And it was on prime time on a Sunday evening. And then it showed the next day in Britain in the evening, but the paparazzi actually watched during the American time. So the Americans were much more sympathetic to Harry and Meghan and what they were going through. Um, the royal family, it took them a day to respond, and they said, people may have different memories, but this is, it was saddening to hear the full degree of the distress that Meghan felt, and the family will discuss this, you know. In other words, that's code for why did you tell it on primetime TV to the world and not tell us, and so that we could discuss it in private. But you know, they apparently had tried to talk and hadn't gotten any response. So anyway, or any openness about it. So anyway, the American press was more sympathetic. The British press, one guy who had apparently been one of Meghan's big critics, you know, quit the show because he trashed her, and then people called in and complained about him, and he stormed off the set and quit the show. He was a big, you know, TV host of some program. And so some people were saying, you know, she should have known more about how the royal family works, and if she married into that family, she should have, you know, just done things the way they do and fulfilled their expectations. And she had said she wanted them to be proud of her, but she didn't know anything. She didn't even know how to curtsy. And when she found out that, you know, meeting her future grandmother-in-law, that she had to curtsy, she said to Harry, "But he's your grandma. I mean, can you imagine going in and curtsying to your grandma?" And Harry said, "But she's the queen." But here you see the difference between British mentality and American mentality. You know, Queen Shmeen, you know, yeah, it's your grandma. Whereas British, she's the queen, and you know, you always bow or curtsy or whatever. And then came up all sorts of questions about should the monarchy continue, because people, for example, in Barbados, were very offended learning about the racism. And Canada, and yes, Canada, where are you? Canada and Australia, where are you? Yeah, are now saying, you know, maybe they should, you know, why are they paying allegiance to the Queen? You know, maybe after the Queen is gone, then they really need to become independent countries, yeah? So, yeah, so it's a big thing. It's been in the press for, yeah, it's less right now, but, you know, for basically a week. Okay, so why am I telling you this on a Dharma talk? Okay, there's two reasons. Okay, one is if you think your family has problems, yeah, your family's problems are not known to the whole world. Everybody does not have an opinion about your family's problems. Everybody is not, you know, yeah, diagnosing you and giving you advice and things like that. You're able to have some privacy in your life, okay? Another thing to be aware and treasure that privacy, my goodness. Another thing is, you know, I don't know about you, but I grew up with Cinderella and, you know, all these stories about princesses, which are still very popular. And I remember when they got married, you know, there was this whole big thing of she found her prince and she's now a princess and you know, and all this. Now we have an American princess, we have a Black princess. And just thinking about how detrimental these kind of fairy tales are for girls and women. When you hear that when you're young and you begin to think that your purpose in life is to snag a guy. And they were saying, at least when I went to college, that most of the women went to college to get their MRS degree. Okay, now I think that's changed, but you know, a number of women, that's why you went to college. And so to just think of how these kind of stereotypes, about women, about African Americans, um, how they permeate culture and affect our minds as an individual, and how much we are willing to challenge that system and do and fulfill our own capabilities and fulfill our own wishes of what we want to contribute to society, and how binding those kind of things are that we learn from, how old were we when we had Cinderella, followed by 17 magazine and now Vogue. Yeah, Good Housekeeping in the middle of there too. Yeah. And yeah, so to think about that and how much those stereotypes affect us individually, but also the whole society, and how people look at us, how institutions are formed. Okay, even the British monarchy, not necessarily just the family itself, but there's 400 people who work in Buckingham Palace. 400. Yeah. And then they have all sorts of other people working in their different castles and palaces and like that. And they have this whole bureaucracy of people who schedule them and deal with the press for them and everything. And how, that plus the regular press for the country and internationally is filled with these kind of stereotypes that really are very harmful to people. Okay, and then, so those are a few things, yeah, to make you think about in terms of your Dharma practice, how you construct your own identity, what you think of as I, and all those little nooks and corners that we've been conditioned about that we're not even aware of that we play out. Yeah. And so to try and make ourselves more aware so we can kind of get rid of some of those very limiting views, okay, of ourselves. And of course, the men have the stereotypes too, men don't cry, and, they're always strong, and, all this kind of macho stuff, okay, which is equally harmful for men. Okay, so that. Then, how many of you have sometimes, admit this, in the back of your mind, kind of thought, wouldn't it be nice to be famous? Yeah? Like, I want I want fame, because if I'm famous, it means what I'm doing is good, which means I'm a good person. Because people think I'm good, so I must be good. Okay? So wanting fame is very enticing because it supports a self-image that is basically insecure. Yeah. And samsara is insecure. So of course we're going to have insecure self-images. It's nothing new. Okay. But what happens to you when you get famous? Then look at the situation they're in. Yeah. I mean, if you had a boyfriend or a girlfriend and you ran off with them, your family would be upset. Yeah. But the whole world would not know about it. And the whole world wouldn't care. And everybody wouldn't have opinions about it. And it wouldn't shake a foundation institution in your country, because the British monarchy has existed for how many centuries? And this is shaking it. You ran off with your boyfriend or girlfriend, That's your business. Family gets upset, and then, they chill out after a while. Yeah. But for when you're royal, every single thing you do is scrutinized. Meghan was saying how she wanted to go out to lunch with some of her friends, and the palace said, the bureaucracy said no, even though she had only been out twice in the last 2 months. They don't want her overexposed because the paparazzi would follow her around and, oh, she had a hamburger and French fries. Oh, she should have had fish and chips. Look, she's not adapting to the palace. This must mean that something is going on. You know how paparazzi are. Yeah. Well, maybe you don't, but if you read what they write, it's clear what they do. Okay. But we don't have the personal experience of paparazzi. There's something to be said for being anonymous. You can take a walk anywhere you want. Probably nobody's going to kidnap you. They're not going to kidnap your kids. Okay. But once you're famous, your kids can't even go out and play. Yeah. I'm reading Obama's book, A Promised Land, and he's talking about how weird it is to have the Secret Service around him all the time, and the American, news, the American paparazzi around him all the time. And when he wants to get away from it, I mean, the Secret Service has a fit. And his advisors say, look, you can't do that to the press, because if you do that to the press, they're going to make your daughter's life miserable. And, he didn't want them to be following his kids around all the time, the press. So, when you're famous, you don't have any privacy. Yeah. Everything you do is observed. It's scrutinized. It's over the papers, all over the papers, and people have opinions about it. Yeah. So there's a price to pay with fame. Yeah. And I told you how I had my little mini experience of that some years ago after I gave a talk, during one of His Holiness's things in Arizona in the evening. And then the next day I had a hard time getting to the bathroom because people were stopping me on the way to the bathroom. And it was like, is this what what you have to pay to be famous? And it was just because of a talk I gave the night before. I'm sure they would forget about it. And you can't even go pee by yourself. You can't even get to the toilet to pee. So, to think about this when it comes up in the mind that I'd like some fame, and, why are so-and-so gets to do this, and so-and-so's interviewed, and so-and-so's this and that, but not me. I'm just as qualified by that as they are. To remember that, of what you have to give up if you're famous. I don't know about you, but it makes for a really claustrophobic life, I think. Yeah. And then, of course, you always have to look good, and you always have to, everything. I mean, the British royalty, you look and, the men are all decked out with their robes and their medals and this and that. And the women have to wear these ridiculous looking hats. Yeah. Have you ever seen them? All the family pictures, their hats, you have to wear a hat that is like this. It can't be like this. It's got to be like this. With, flowers and bells and feathers and, it's like, ugh. What's to, yeah. So, just these kind of dress codes that they squeeze you into, and what color you have to wear, and how you can't, you have to show off in this respect, but you can't show off in that respect. Okay. You have to do it appropriate for each occasion, and oh God, and you can't be seen in the same thing twice. So, how many of those ridiculous hats do you have to have? And, so use it when your mind is saying, gee, I want to be famous. I want to be somebody. I want to be recognized, and check up. Why do you think that fame and recognition means that you're a good person? Yeah. Does fame and recognition mean you're a good person? Yeah. Donnie had plenty of it. Does it mean he's a good person? So does Mitch. Yeah. Does that make you good? Yeah. Does a lot of people knowing your name really mean that you're a good person? Who knows if you're a good person? Does anybody else really know if you're a good person? Who else knows your motivations for doing things besides the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and you? Do any other living beings, the ordinary beings who we want to be famous with, do they know our motivations? Yeah. Can they really tell if we're good or not? Okay. So really look and see, the self-confidence comes from knowing ourselves and being happy with ourselves and being honest with ourselves. Yeah. Not with putting on a show so that we look good to other people, so that they know our name. Anyway, most of our names they can't even pronounce. Yeah. Can they? Yeah, you're all Thubtons. Yeah. So I become Thupton children. Yeah. So, okay. So I think there's a lot to learn from watching these kinds of things. So, do some Tonglen also for the rich and famous people. They have their own version of suffering. That's quite amazing.